One of the most significant threats that we face, it's not only a matter of national security, it's a matter of homeland security in a number of arrays, in a number of areas of our mission. Do you think you have the ability to shut them down? You have to, you have the right to shut them down. I would have to defer to the Department of Justice with respect to those. That was homeland security. Okay. So it's the under FBI. Well, to the extent that the remedies might be some part of the Justice Department outside the FBI, that could also be a possibility. Whether the State Department dimension of this that we're looking into. So when you know it here, do you know reports of every U.S. citizens? Do you know that yet? Do you have enough information to know what they are? Well, again, I don't want to get too far into our ongoing investigative work, but as I said, we have seen plenty of situations in the past where the Chinese government, under the pretext of going after corruption, have essentially used that as a vehicle to surveil. We've had situations where they've planted bugs inside Americans' cars, for example. And one of the things that we're seeing more and more is them hiring private investigators here in the U.S. to essentially be their agents, if you will, to conduct some of this work. So this is something we're trying to call out, and it's important that Chinese Americans and Chinese dissidents who are here know to call the FBI to report when they think they may have been targeted.
And I are able to report that this object was shot down and that there does not appear to be collateral damage and that they do expect to recover this object, whatever it was, because again, this is different from perhaps the first three that we saw. Chuck Schumer today, the Senate Majority Leader, saying that he received a briefing from Jake Sullivan overnight, who said that these are all different objects than the first one, that Chinese surveillance balloon that spanned the size of 2 to 3 buses big. These are all appearing different in shape and size. We don't know yet if this has anything to do with the Chinese government or whether it is something else. So just a lot of things that we still don't know yet, but it's very clear that U.S. officials these objects and trying to detect them at a much quicker pace. So that's all we know right now. What has happened.
3 years after this deadly pandemic began, no comprehensive and unfettered investigation into pandemic origins has been carried out, nor is one currently planned. This injustice is an insult to every victim of this crisis and a clear threat to future generations. The primary reason there has been no comprehensive investigation into COVID-19 origins is the reprehensible actions of the Chinese government. Since the early days of the pandemic, China's government has destroyed samples, hidden records, imprisoned brave Chinese journalists, gagged Chinese scientists, actively spread misinformation, and done pretty much everything possible to prevent the kind of unfettered, evidence-based investigation that is so urgently required. Every person on Earth must demand accountability from China. I think we've already established that the Select Subcommittee will try to leave no stone unturned to try to find the truth. Unfortunately, the question of the origins has been politicized. That's no secret. It has driven most people to their corners rather than driving apolitical scientific debate or discussion. Some say the virus came from nature. That, according to recent papers discussed in the New York Times, the science is dispositive. Some say it's too unique, too primed for human transmission, that there's too much circumstantial evidence that points to COVID-19 coming from a lab. As well, in 3 years, there's been no track found to prove that COVID-19 evolved naturally from an animal or